Hi guys! So today was fun. I tuned into Nancy Drew Walkthrough's live stream of solving today's clue from her interactive, which was fun, and it was solved. I did not help very much, but it was fun to be there. Now, following that, I felt like I wanted to just make a very quick video about two things. First, what book I think that the game is going to be based on, and second, I just kind of wanted to do a really quick clue roundup. First things first, I wanted to talk about how her interactive uses Nancy Drew books as inspiration for the games. I actually haven't read any of the books that the games are based on, so I can't fully attest to what I'm about to say, but based on the plot lines that I've read and then what I remember of the games and their plot lines, they range greatly from how much they are actually based on the books. Like Stay Tuned for Danger seemed pretty close. It has Maddie Jensen, Rick Arlen, The Poison Chocolates, New York City. It has all of those things. But then like Danger by Design is based on Death by Design, which seems to involve a fashion designer, and that kind of where it ends based on the very small plot snippet that I could find. So within that range, you do have they take the characters and they take the location and they take the concept. Sometimes they just take the concept. Sometimes they just take the location. It really varies, so it's hard to figure out what specifically we're looking for. So, a note on what books we should be looking at. I think I mentioned this in a previous video or maybe on my Instagram, I don't remember, but I saw someone say, I didn't talk to this person, but I saw them say that Kalina from Story Retold said that we should be looking at Nancy Drew Digest books. But that means that we're looking at books 57 through 175. Again, I think I've said this. What I'm not sure of is whether or not we have gotten the keywords from the clues that we've been given that would allow us to tie in the game's plot with the book plot. Because, like I said, how much the game is based on the book varies so much that we may not have even landed on the idea or concept that they used as any kind of inspiration for any part of the game yet. But I'm pretty sure we're looking at a Nancy Drew Digest book. So, my best guess so far. Alright, as you know, I tried to look at every plot synopsis that I could for each of the Nancy Drew Digest books. I couldn't find anything that's specifically related to Austria, which, as you know, is a thread that I've been frantically pulling at, except for The Captive Witness. But The Captive Witness was the inspiration for The Captive Curse, even though that game takes place in Bavaria and not Austria, and otherwise I couldn't see too much of a tie-in with the two plots. But according to like the list on Wikipedia, they haven't repeated any books for inspirations for the games. So my main follow-up has started with the original You've Been Hacked clue that showed up in the letter video that her interactive released and that everybody thought was an April Fool's joke and they weren't sure. Assuming that that ties into the game plot, then I think we're still looking at the email mystery, which I mentioned before. I ended up borrowing the book from the Internet Archive today, and I read the whole thing, and it doesn't involve hacking per se, but it does involve computers, the internet, what LOL and BRB mean. It's actually kind of funny. Some of those things I didn't know went back to 1998. Anyway, it also involved internet cafes, which, you know, in the 90s, when the internet was a little bit more of a rare thing to access, they had internet cafes that I think either they just had Wi-Fi that you could hook up into, but I think they actually had computers at them. And I think in the book that's what it is. It's a cafe with computers and you can go and you can log online. So while we haven't had a lot of follow-up on the hacking computer clues, we have had a very substantial and definitive follow-up on the coffee clue. So we know that a cafe is involved in the game somehow, and the email mystery does briefly involve going to cafes, and it involves computers. And in other games, they've taken the idea of one of the book plots and they've transported it elsewhere. I think the final scene takes place in River Heights, but then in the game they transported it to St. Louis. So they could transport it to Austria or wherever else we think that the game could take place. So even though we haven't had the Austria or Vienna keyword tie in specifically to a book, that doesn't mean that it's off limits necessarily. If you have a better idea of which book you think inspired this game, please let me know, especially if you've read any of them, because I haven't. So, secondly, I wanted to do a kind of roundup of all of our current clues, or at least most of our current clues. We're going to go over them in order, and I am focusing specifically on sort of phrases or words that we've physically gotten from Her Interactive, and not as much the implications from some of the directions that they've given us. So I have them up. Let's take a look. All right, so from the initial letter, the video that started the whole thing, and the red letters spelled out "You've been hacked," and so that's where the whole computer hacking internet tie-in comes in. You've been hacked. And then we've had the coffee and the sun pop up throughout various graphics. So haven't had a huge follow-up on the sun yet, but it was circled in that one clue, kind of the first puzzle I think they gave us, and there's just been a lot of sunshine and sun rays, so I don't know. I feel like even in the clue that we did today, the Dana girls, actually I'm gonna look, by the light of the study lamp. So that was also a funny thing. They used a Dana girl book in their backdrop for today's clue, and someone pointed out that it was issued in 1934. Moving on. So in the second video that confirmed that we were getting a new game, the capitalized letters spelled out "Salut," which is the French greeting. So we've had the French tie-in. And then we were led to believe that the wrong answers from the trivia questions were important. That was one of those sort of vague, oh, you need to do this sort of thing. One of the wrong answers was coffee, and coffee has definitively ended up being part of the game, so something to think about. The first password to the secret page was pergamentum, which is Latin for to clear or clean. That was from Curse of Blackmore Manor, and as I was watching the stream today, Hugh did point out that the pictures that they put on the wall of the cafe screenshot from the game, so far 2 of the passwords have tied in to those pictures of the game. The second password was the La Diamant de ma misère, or the Diamond of My Misery, which ties into Treasure in a Royal Tower and also relates to Marie Antoinette, who was a Habsburg, who were Austrian Empire people. Back to that whole thing. But we're also back to French, so I don't know. All right, so the caption on the video that was right before, I think the coffee minigame gameplay video was released, the capitalized letters spelled out barista. And so barista has ended up playing into what is actually contained within the game. I can't exactly prove that for the other clues yet. And then today's clue that was solved about singing to Nancy for her 93rd birthday, the capitalized letters spelled out the word voice, which maybe that just has to do with the singing, but then at the same time, barista tied into a mini game. So we have salut, barista, and voice for our capitalized secret hidden messages. And barista has actually tied into gameplay. So I don't know if that means that salut and voice will also tie into gameplay. I don't know. And I don't know if we're going to be getting any more passwords, and I don't know if those 2 passwords have something to do with the game. So it feels like we're in a ballpark, but I still want more definitive evidence. But I guess that's the whole point. That's why we're doing this. So I'm still landing on the game being vaguely based on the email mystery, simply because it involves computers, which we've sort of had a clue about, and a cafe, which we definitely know is part of the game. That's it, because I couldn't find anything else that was as close as the email mystery was. And there aren't really any concrete tie-ins to Austria. There's something there. I still haven't let it go. I was just looking up other things, and like Viennese coffee houses are very important, and they had something to do with the Habsburg as well, so... Okay, so that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Nancy's birthday is on the 28th, and we will see what her gift to us is. But this is fun, it's exciting, and we'll see what happens. So long.